watching NBC Sports, home of the Triple Crown.
New York, New York, on the second Saturday in June. The familiar Manhattan skyline, the centerpiece, though a few miles east, just past the Queens city limits on Long Island. The biggest sports event of the day in these parts is upcoming at Belmont Park. The mile-and-a-half race they call the Test of the Champion, the final jewel of the Triple Crown. This year, the most obvious storyline is a rubber match between Kentucky Derby winner Orb and Preakness winner Oxbow. It gives Orb's trainer, Shug McGahee, another chance to show why he was once so high on his horse's chances to sweep the Triple Crown. While two fellow Hall of Famers, 50-year-old Gary Stevens and 77-year-old Dwayne Lucas, look to cap their remarkable spring with a second jewel. They're joined by a large and strong field in the 145th Belmont Stakes. After torrential rains yesterday, it's a beautiful 74-degree late afternoon as we greet you from the Secretariat statue here at Belmont. It was exactly 40 years ago tomorrow that Secretariat won the Belmont in the greatest performance of a legendary career, an astonishing 31-length victory that not only clinched the Triple Crown, but in the process ended a quarter-century drought that had dated to citation in 1948. Now, a few years after Secretariat, Seattle's Slew and Affirmed also turned the Triple Crown trick, but since then, it hasn't happened. So right now, we're at 35 years and counting. Again this year, no horse will go 3 for 3. But 2 out of 3 is a possibility. What are the odds of that? Well, here's a look. Orb, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, is the solid favorite at 2-1. Oxbow is not the second choice. The Preakness winner is at 10-1. Revolutionary, trained by Todd Pletcher, third in the Derby, skipped the Preakness. And for what it may be worth, horses that ran the Derby and then skipped the Preakness have a good recent history at the Belmont, and Revolutionary is 5-1. Freedom Child, a new shooter who has won on this track before, is at 8-1. We'll begin our coverage now by checking in with Bob Newmeyer. Bob.
All right, Bob, after his disappointing Shug McGahee wanted to see 2 things before he entered Orb in the Belmont Stakes. Have energy in his morning gallops, and 2, he was looking for an eye-catching half-mile workout on Monday. He got them both. All good. Here is Orb today. So 1 point to watch for. You know, when McGahee won it with Easy Goer in 1989, he instructed Pat Day to take the outside path, stay off the rail. He will likely give Joel Rosario the exact same instructions today with Orb. Stay outside, keep off the rail. Here's Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Bob. It's been 8 years since a Preakness champ has won the Belmont, and Oxbow trainer Wayne Lucas thinks he's figured it out. It has more to do with what's going on inside the head than what's going on with the feet. He likens it to a human athlete. After a great triumph, are they still hungry? He said that Oxbow is alert, aware, and anxious to get back to the track. Lucas has his mind made up. He hopes Oxbow does as well. Let's go to Donna Brothers.
And Kenny, Oxbow's jockey Gary Stevens is here today looking for a Triple Crown win number 10. But just 1 week ago at Hollywood Park, he took a spill on the turf course when his horse just ducked out from underneath him. The horse was okay, but Gary's ribs were a little sore. Luckily, precautionary x-rays showed negative. He had no real damage, and he has ridden here earlier today, and in fact yesterday. I talked to Gary earlier today, and he said he's never felt better. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
All right, Donna. Well, Orb is a deserving favorite this afternoon, and historically, favorites have run very well in the Belmont, but this has not been the case recently. Since 2000, only 2 favorites have won 2 out of 13, and the average win price over 17-1. So let's take a look for a couple of live long shots. I really think overanalyzed. 12-1 on the morning line. One of Pletcher's horses, Velasquez, back aboard. Didn't run well in the Derby, but he's won 4 out of 8. He's going to run well today. And of course, Golden Soul, fast closing second in the Derby, not getting a lot of love. 10-1 on the morning line. Let's check in with Michelle Beadle.
Thanks, Mike. Yep, this is it. Belmont, my rookie year officially ends after today. Bring you some flavor, bring you some taste, some sounds. But before that, we want to show you something in case you missed it from the Preakness. You know, celebration. Dwayne Lucas getting a little happy there, but oh, woe is me. What does that happen to be behind him? jet black cotton candy hair that could only belong to rock god Gene Simmons, who you might recognize better as that, and some may argue looks better than that. So since we're here today on Long Island, I'm hoping for a Dee Snider sighting. Keep your fingers crossed. Bob?
A Dee Snider reference. Michelle, you are one twisted sister. Meanwhile, Gene Simmons, rock star, railbird, reprobate. Go figure. Back to Belmont. We'll check in with Tom Hammond after this.
65 years old. When that became the official retirement age, back when my dad was a kid, life expectancy was about 61. Not much of a retirement, huh? Luckily,
Massive crowd, much of it choosing mass transit. One of the ways to get to Belmont Park, the Long Island Railroad. Tom Hammond's ticket for Belmont coverage is already punched. Here is the man with unequaled equine expertise, Mr. Tom Hammond himself.
If that's the case, how come I can never pick a winner, Bob? But, you know, short of having a Triple Crown on the line, this is about the best Belmont one could hope for. Storylines abound, a rematch of the Derby and Preakness winners, a filly and her female jockey taking on the boys. Derby also rans looking for redemption, and some talented Triple Crown newcomers. Like the Derby, trainer Todd Pletcher saddles 5, 3 of them owned by Mike Rapoli. It's only the 4th time in 145 years that 14 or more have contested the Belmont. So here's the way they'll line up in the starting gate today. Frack Daddy on the inside. He was 16th in the Kentucky Derby. Freedom Child, 13-length winner of the Peter Pan in the slop here at Belmont. Overanalyzed, winner of the Arkansas Derby, then 11th at Churchill Downs. Giant Finish, 10th in the Kentucky Derby. Orb, who took the Derby by 2.5 lengths, but then 4th in the Preakness. Incognito, 5th in the Peter Pan. Oxbow, wire to wire in the Preakness after a 6th in Louisville. Midnight Taboo, only 3 career starts with 1 win. Revolutionary, who won the Louisiana Derby, then was 3rd in Kentucky. Will Take Charge, 8th in the Derby, 7th in the Preakness. Vijack, 18th in the Derby. Palace Malice, the pace setter in Kentucky, but faded to 12th. Unlimited Budget, the filly, her only loss, a 3rd in the Kentucky Oaks. And Golden Soul, who was 2nd in the Derby, at 34-1. And we welcome in our analyst, Randy Moss. And Randy, the first thing you notice when you talk about the Belmont Stakes, it jumps out at you 1.5 miles, about the only time in their careers these horses will run that far.
It is the most demanding of the Triple Crown races, but that hasn't diminished its popularity with owners and trainers. How about this? In its 145-year history, this is also the very first time the Belmont Stakes has 10 horses that ran in the Kentucky Derby. So, Tom, I agree with you. It is a heck of a field.
So the big question that's been circulating around the country is, Orb was so dominant in the Kentucky Derby, what happened in the Preakness?
We've all gone through the checklist. Orb wasn't sick or injured, and the pace can't really explain a 9-length defeat. He did have an inside post position, and as a result, he raced inside horses for the first time. Jockey Joel Rosario couldn't find room to get him outside where he might prefer to be. You can see on the first turn, he was surrounded, but Rosario says Orb didn't seem to be bothered by that. The inside part of the track was slower, but for most of the race, Orb was in the same 3-path as Oxbow. On the backstretch, that's what Rosario wanted to do, get up and around the early leaders, but Orb didn't have enough kick to do that. He couldn't outrun the horses to his outside. On the second turn, there was a hole that Rosario would have liked to have gone through. As the old saying goes in horse racing, the hole was moving faster than the horse. Through the stretch, Orb could only rally mildly for 4th place. Now, reasons. Maybe he didn't like the unusually deep Pimlico surface. That could be true. That's what the Orb camp is saying. Usually that excuse is bogus. Maybe the Kentucky Derby took some wind out of his sails. It was such a hard race. Whatever the reason, the #1 question in the Belmont today is, can Orb get that Derby mojo back?
Well, 3 weeks ago in the Preakness, Orb's defeat left the horse racing world with a sense of shock and disappointment. There would be no Triple Crown, but many still believe that Orb has a chance to be a super horse.
Orb is put to an all-out drive. He's not going to get there today, and it's Oxbow to win the Preakness.
There were so many people that had become Orb fans. You feel a little bit like you've let them down.
You know, this is a horse race. This isn't feel sorry for the people in Oklahoma. Don't feel sorry for me or for Orb or for Janny or the Phippses. We're gonna saddle up and do it again.
I laugh at people that say that without a Triple Crown, the Belmont is an afterthought. The Belmont's one of the signature races in the United States.
Down the stretch, and it's easy going, winning the Belmont and denying Sunday Silence the Triple Crown.
You know, I'm tired of hearing them saying Shug McGaughey won the Belmont in 1989. I want to hear them say he won it in 2013.
I think that what Shug has been doing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, as best you can do it, is watching Orb very carefully to see whether his energy level is what it has been. Everything we see indicates that he's ready to go.
I think it would be foolish for us to not think that Orb is going to get back to that Kentucky Derby form.
He certainly is bred to go this distance. He trains well over this track. I think it's helpful that he comes out of his barn.
If Orb shows up with improvement, you're going to see one hell of a horse race.
He's got the advantage here.
Wayne is a remarkable, remarkable man. I want to beat him, and if I do beat him, he's going to shake my hand. If he beats me, I'm going to shake his, and my hat's going to be off to him.
Well, one thing for sure, Orb is bred to go a mile and a half.
His dam or mother, Lady Liberty, won at a mile and a half. No other horse in the Belmont field has a dam that even competed at a mile and a half.
This complex here at Belmont Park is huge. It covers acres and acres of ground, and here's the way it is. When you look at it, the barn area, the stable area, quite extensive. And the paddock behind the grandstand, that's where the statue of Secretariat is. The infield is massive, but unlike Pimlico and Churchill Downs, not open to the public on the big day. The grandstand, huge, and the finish line, if it were at Pimlico, would be there. If it were Churchill Downs, it would be there. But here in the mile and a half Belmont Stakes at Belmont Park, the largest circumference of any racetrack in the country, the finish line is right there. Let's go back now to Bob Newmeyer.
Tom, I'm at the Todd Pletcher barn where he is locked and loaded again. He had 5 of 19 runners in the Kentucky Derby. This year's Belmont Stakes, he has 5 of 14. They include, of course, Revolutionary, third in the Kentucky Derby. Palace Malice, talented, as yet to put it all together. Midnight Taboo, he's a giant-sized long shot. The filly, Unlimited Budget, fast, fit, dangerous. Can she get the mile and a half? Then there's the Thinking Man's Force. And that, of course, would be overanalyzed. And should he win, we'd have Orb winning the Derby, we'd have Oxbow winning the Preakness, and overanalyzed winning the Belmont. Oh. Here is D-O-N-N-A.
All right, Numi. Well, off of his 10th place finish in the Kentucky Derby, Giant Finish is going to be one of the longest shots in this race at 30-1, but don't count him out. His jockey, Edgar Prado, has pulled off 2 of the biggest upsets in Belmont Stakes history. He won this race in 2002 on Sarava at odds of 70-1, and then came back 2 years later and won on Birdstone at odds of 36-1. For more on another long shot in this race, let's go to Lafitte Pinkai.
Donna, Vijak was a complete non-factor in the Kentucky Derby. He finished 18th. He beat 1 horse, and he was 54 lengths behind Orb. Today, he'll try to turn things around in the Belmont Stakes. Been a rocky road for his trainer, Rudy Rodriguez, as well. Throughout recent months, through post-race testing, has revealed that 4 of his horses were given medication that is legal, but above the legal limit. Rodriguez has already faced 1 suspension this year. More might be pending. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Well, you know, Frack Daddy might be the longest price in the race today. I mean, he's only won 1 race. He broke his maiden last year. He has been training well. He's been training well over the track. Kenny McPeak says he's going to send him to the front. But I asked Kenny, I said, Kenny, why are you running this horse in the Belmont? He looked at me and said 1 word, Sarava. That's the horse Kenny saddled in 2002. He paid $142. Kenny Rice.
All right, Mike. Trainer Dallas Stewart of Kentucky Derby runner-up Golden Soul calls him his growing boy. He is the 2nd youngest horse in this field, and it's for that reason that Stewart said he decided to bypass the Preakness, and he thinks it's paid off, saying he has had tremendous growth in maturity and that he is ready for this mile and a half test today. He was 34-1 when he came in 2nd in Kentucky. I asked Dallas about that. He says, I don't care what the bettors think before the race. I just want them to remember me after the race. Let's go to Michelle.
Thanks, Kenny. If you think we're paying a lot of attention to Rosie Napravnik, it's with good reason. After getting a 5th at the Derby and a 3rd at the Preakness, today she becomes the only woman in horse racing history to compete in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown in the same year. She'll be on a limited budget. And if you're into signs or good omens, well, Julie Crone 20 years ago became the first woman and only woman to win any leg of a Triple Crown, and it was right here at Belmont. So there you go. We got some girl power ahead of us, and for a lot of us, this is a big deal. Tom?
All right, Michelle, so can Rosie guide her filly home, become the 2nd female jockey to win the Belmont, or will it be the showdown between the Derby and Preakness winners?
Crossing Lines premieres Sunday, June 23rd at 9/8 Central.
For a live in-depth look at the Belmont, check out NBC Sports Live Extra, where you can watch a live stream of today's race with an ISO cam of Kentucky Derby winner Orb and one also of Preakness winner Oxbow. Plus, interact with other fans. NBC Sports Live Extra, available on NBCSports.com and your mobile and tablet devices. Let's go back to Michelle Beadle.
Thanks, Tom. You know, as we get ready for the final leg of the Triple Crown here in 2013, we thought we would take a look back. It was my first time to any of these races. It did not take me very long to realize each race has its very own vibe. You've got billionaires, you've got railbirds, high fashion, infield craziness, everything for everyone, and without a doubt, the Triple Crown, well, it's just perfect for anybody, no matter who you are.
What struck me about the Kentucky Derby is that for so long, so little has changed about Churchill Downs on that first Saturday in May. The flowers, the fashion, the juleps, it's old school. But what I'll remember most is the day I spent with the field of the finest 3-year-old thoroughbreds.
This is Oxbow. Oxbow likes his tongue grabbed. Yeah, I'm grabbing Oxbow's tongue. If you want to know what it feels like, feel your own tongue. It's softer and longer than that.
2 weeks later, I was settled squarely into Orb's bandwagon.
They all know who Orb is, and they know who's the boss. They looked at his rear end the other day, so.
Hey-oh! At Pimlico, I suppose some people came to see Orb, but it sure seemed like a lot more came for the party.
Preakness 013! I told him not to do that.
There are big acts and revelry of all varieties. And even though they've outlawed the infamous Porta-John run, the Preakness infield is still a bash for the bucket list.
Man, things do get crazy in the infield at the Preakness. I was so stoked about the Belmont. Packed a little picnic, got my beverage, and I'm the only one out here. All by myself. As a matter of fact, this infield is so big, you could take the entire track at the Kentucky Derby and fit it right here, which would be nice, because then I'd have some friends. It's peaceful.
So no crowd allowed on the infield, but Belmont Park still might be the biggest stage in the Big Apple. If you stood the grandstand on its side, it would be taller than the Empire State Building. The record crowd here, over 120,000.
And yes, while the crowds pile in here for all the big names, and we do love Oxbow and Orb, there will probably never be a greater name than Secretariat.
Really, it's fitting that New York's race would be home to the sport's most famous horse, because while the Derby might have its traditions and the Preakness might have the party, here, just miles from Broadway, the Belmont is the big finale. The show that can make that certain special horse into a star.
And there is that massive grandstand, stood on end, taller than the Empire State Building. And you know, Michelle, we're still waiting for you to pick your first Triple Crown winner. We'll get your selection a little later on. But if you'd like to try to pick a winner here in the Belmont Stakes, on Facebook, the question is, who will win? Orb, Oxbow, Revolutionary, or someone else in the rest of the field? That's on Facebook. Your pick for the 145th Belmont Stakes. More from Belmont Park after these messages and a quick update from our sports studio.
th and 5th Avenue, with deals in every department.
Join NBC for New York and the New York Giants in June.
A view from above Manhattan Island in New York, about 15 miles east, anticipation building for the final jewel of the Triple Crown, the 145th Belmont Stakes post time, now about an hour away. Greetings to you from the Paddock Terrace. This is actually the oldest of the Triple Crown races. It's older than the Derby. It's older than the Preakness. It's been run at this track since 1905. Prior to that, it was run in the Bronx. Let's take a look at the odds right now. The winner of the Derby, Orb, remains the solid favorite at 2-1. Oxbow, the winner of the Preakness, is at 10-1, and Revolutionary, getting a lot of backing from the betting public right now, is at 5-1. As once again we check with Tom Hammond.
All right, Bob, and despite all the heavy rain of yesterday, the track has dried out nicely. It's now listed as fast on a cloudy but warm afternoon, 75 degrees. The Belmont purse is $1 million. $600,000 of that goes to the winner in the stakes and track record set by the great Secretariat 40 years ago. And we're joined now by Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey, who had a couple of Belmont Stakes victories to his credit. And I asked Randy this earlier, Jerry. I'm going to get your take on it now. What happened to Orb at the Preakness?
Well, it is a mystery. And it, you know, with Orb being so good and so consistent, wins in Florida, 2 wins in Fountain of Youth, the Florida Derby, and a career best win in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe it comes down to just as simple as he didn't have another top effort in him. Maybe it was just an off day for him.
And what about Oxbow, Randy? Has he bounced back from that effort in the Preakness?
Well, I mean, his energy level seems good, but that can be misleading. See Orb, Preakness for that. People may be wondering, okay, this horse wins the Preakness, so why is he 10-1? Well, there's an easy explanation for that. In the Preakness, Gary Stevens somehow managed to put Oxbow on an unchallenged early lead in what I think are the slowest pace in at least 4 decades. This pace should be more up-tempo. Therefore, many seasoned handicappers believe that Oxbow won't run as well.
And there are some so-called new shooters, horses that didn't run in the Derby or Preakness. One of those is Freedom Child. He's a speed horse, and he had a great performance here at Belmont in the Peter Pan Stakes on the sloppy track, winning it by over 13 lengths. We expect him to be contesting the pace early in the Belmont Stakes today. So Freedom Child is the subject of our Scott Trade Value Rising.
Before the Peter Pan, Freedom Child needed a top 3 finish in the Wood Memorial to make the Kentucky Derby field, but look at that start. There was a commotion in the gate, so the assistant starter was holding his bridle when the doors opened and was dragged out of the gate with Freedom Child. All bets on Freedom Child were refunded, but any hope of making the Derby went out the window.
And this is bad enough for any horse, but he's a speed horse, as Tom mentioned, and he's totally out of his element here. But the jockey, to his credit, is trying to do a little bit at a time in terms of makeup, but this horse is not like it back here. He's mad. If you ever seen a mad horse during the course of the race, watch this. He's shaking his head. He doesn't like this.
Freedom Child wound up 10th in the Woods, so plan B was the Peter Pan as a prep for the Belmont.
Now, he wasn't this far in front down the backside, but this is typically how he likes to run in front, and that's probably where we'll see him in the Belmont today.
So Freedom Child will be one of the newcomers to the Triple Crown Series we'll keep our eye on today. And for more on him, let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. It was a chance meeting about 5 years ago that West Point Thoroughbred owner Terry Finley and trainer Tom Albertrani got reacquainted. They first met 34 years ago in the winner's circle. Yeah, it was much different in 1979. That dude with the long hair, that's future West Point grad and Army Ranger Finley. The guy in the saddle during his brief jockey career, that's Albertrani. They say they remember the moment, barely remember each other. They certainly have become well acquainted in the last 5 years. It's been a good partnership. They are hoping today, though, that Freedom Child can take them to some place they've never been before. That is to get a winner's circle photo for them and their family in the Belmont Stakes. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, Kenny, the first time we see horses on the track is when they are 2 years old. And the beauty of these baby races that you just never know when you might see one show up in a Triple Crown event. So who knew that on November 24th at Aqueduct Racetrack in nearby New York, we had a 2-year-old baby race that featured Orb, Freedom Child, and Revolutionary. They finished 1, 2, 3 that day, and so here they are today, 6.5 months later, in the Belmont Stakes. And it's not just that, they are the 3 betting favorites in today's race. Who knew? Here's Mike.
All right, well, you know, in recent years, it seems like more and more trainers have been running in the Derby, skipping the Preakness, and then running back in the Belmont. It seems to be working. 6 out of the last 13 winners of the Belmont have done just that. The two most notables, Birdstone and Empire Maker, they both stopped Triple Crown bids. And today, 7 out of the 14 horses, half the field, coming in off of the Kentucky Derby, skipping the Preakness. Only 3 horses today have run in both the Derby and the Preakness. Let's go to Donna.
Mike, I talked with Joel Rosario the other day and asked him what he learned about Orb from his defeat in the Preakness Stakes. He said that he felt like he was in good position early and running along easily enough, but in hindsight, he may have let him do too much too soon. Of course, there's no way to know how the pace is going to set up today, but he said ideally they'll be going fast enough up front today that he can let Orb sit back and just make that one big late run. Lafitte.
Yeah, Donna, if you watch enough football and follow the NFL, you're familiar with the coaching tree, and Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, the obvious examples. In horse racing, the equivalent is Wayne Lukas and his former assistant trainers. Here they are celebrating with Wayne at the 1909 Hall of Fame ceremony. And here they are 3 nights ago at Todd Pletcher's house. Kieran McLaughlin on the right, Todd Pletcher, Angel Cordero, not a former Lukas assistant, Wayne Lukas, and Dallas Stewart. The gentleman on your screen representing 9 of the 14 horses running in today's Belmont Stakes. Tom?
Yeah, but you can bet, Lafitte, that Wayne still wants to prove who is the coach in that group and which jockey will bask in winner's circle glory. Joel Rosario, as he did at Churchill Downs, or Gary Stevens with another canny ride like the Preakness. Maybe John Velasquez on Overanalyze today. Or it could be the fillies, Rosie and Unlimited Budget, all in the test of a champion.
Longines, the official watch and timekeeper of the 145th Belmont Stakes, is proud to award today's winning jockey, trainer, and owner a timepiece from its new Saint-Imier collection.
With RTN Total Traccess, every screen's a winner. See every race from every live simulcast on your home television, or watch live video streaming and race replays on your PC, tablet, and mobile devices. RTN Total Traccess is the ultimate way to watch racing at home or away. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
At Scottrade, our clients trade and invest exactly how they want.
With Scottrade's online banking, I get one view of my bank and brokerage accounts with one login to easily move my money when I need to. Plus, when I call my local Scottrade office, I can talk to someone who knows how I trade, because I don't trade like everybody.
Guts, glory, Ram.
The 145th running of the Belmont Stakes is brought to you by Ram. It's the truck you've always wanted your truck to be. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. By Longines, the official timekeeper of the Belmont Stakes. And by U.S. Bank, all of us serving you. Member FDIC.
And from Manhattan out to Belmont Park, welcome back. You see horses on the track. And the Belmont Stakes, of course, still to come, but we're going to bring you the $500,000 Manhattan Handicap, contested at 1.25 miles on the turf. And the heavy favorite in here is Point of Entry at 1-2. That's a horse owned by the Phipps stable and trained by Shug McGahee, with John Velasquez in the saddle for this Manhattan Handicap run. And there he is.
And what a horse he is. Point of Entry has won 6 of his last 7 races. The only defeat in that string, a second-place finish in the Breeders' Cup Turf to Little Mike. He's ready to roll.
He was scratched out of the race prior to the Kentucky Derby. Shug said he didn't want to run him on that soft a course, but this course is a little bit soft. He's won on this course in his present condition of yielding, so I would expect him to hold his form pretty well.
And when they scratched him from that race before the Derby, that means that now he hasn't run since February the 9th, and he's going crazy in the morning and around the barn. He has cabin fever. He wants to run, so no thought at all about scratching him today.
And let's get that Shug Wayne Lukas rivalry going early with Optimizer, trained by Wayne Lukas, in the Manhattan.
Certainly no concern about the condition, the course for Optimizer. He did run the race before the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs on a yielding course, ran a tremendous second, was third to Skyrig, Wayne Lucas's other horse, only beaten a half length, so he's legitimate.
He ran the race before the Derby, the race before the Preakness, and now he's running the race before the Belmont. And of all the horses Wayne Lukas has saddled in stakes races around the country, so many of them, he's the leading trainer of all time. This is his very first horse to run in the Manhattan. That's kind of weird, I think.
Optimizer goes in. Joel Rosario, who rides Orb, is aboard Optimizer for Wayne Lukas. Larry Colmus with the call of the Manhattan.
All right, Tom, just one more to go into the gate, and that's Finnegan's Wake, who's a bit of a long shot in this field at 20-1. And he's a late runner here. He'll be moving toward the end of the race. Goes in. We're all in line and ready for a start here. They're off in the Manhattan, and the gray Bumbagia goes out to the front, and there goes a long shot Plainview now to quickly take over, and Optimizer is running in third position toward the inside part of the course. Then it's a gap of another 4 lengths back to Real Solution, who races just to the inside of Twilight Eclipse. Point of entry, the heavy favorite, is 9 lengths off the lead right now. It's a pretty scattered field. The pace appears to be fast. Side Road and Finnegan's Wake are at the back of proceedings here at 23 and 4 opening quarter mile, so that is pretty fast as they make their way toward the backstretch here on the Belmont turf. And it's Plainview, a long shot in the race at 23-1, on top by 2.5 lengths. Optimizer sits in second. Bumbagia reined back in third, now 5 lengths off the lead. Then Twilight Eclipse. John Velasquez has the big favorite Point of Entry on the outside of Twilight Eclipse, where on the rail it is Real Solution right there to the inside of them. Finnegan's Wake is next, and Gary Stevens and Side Road are now last as they continue through a half mile that goes in 48 1/5 seconds. So it's still this big long shot out there on the lead. Plainview by 2. Optimizer is second as the field races into the far turn. Point of Entry is outside of Bumbagia, and down toward the inside is Twilight Eclipse. Finnegan's Wake's got 6 lengths to make up, and then comes Real Solution and Side Road around the far turn. Optimizer moves for the lead, and Point of Entry is coming up on the outside. Giving way is Plainview, who's back to third along the rail. Twilight Eclipse is right there. Real Solution swings up on the outside, and they're into the stretch, and it's Optimizer and Point of Entry, and they're side by side, and here comes Real Solution on the outside looking to run them down. Real Solution on the far outside between the Point of Entry. Optimizer. Point of Entry just keeps on fighting, and Point of Entry and John Velasquez win the Manhattan. Optimizer was second. Real Solution ends up third, and Finnegan's Wake was fourth. The heavy favorite won the Manhattan. It was Point of Entry.
So Point of Entry and John Velasquez winning it. And what about that? Shug McGahee's horse and Wayne Lucas's horse battling through the stretch. Maybe that's a preview of things to come later in the Belmont Stakes.
2 classy horses battling it down. And John Velasquez took a little bit of different tack than Gary. Gary laid a little bit closer. Johnny a little further back on Point of Entry, who can do about anything and be placed anywhere. Both were very effective because it is somewhat hard for a horse to come from very far back and make up the ground. I think Gary calculated if he could get a little jump on Point of Entry, he might hang in there, but too classy is Point of Entry.
This horse has a devastating stretch kick, and for Johnny Velasquez, all right, the very best races in New York are Grade 1 races. There are 36 of them. Going into this race, he had won 32 of those Grade 1 races, but had never won the Manhattan. He was 0 for 15. Now he's got this one on his resume.
Johnny Velasquez taking a peek under his arm to make sure that he's got people measured, the jockeys measured behind him. He must have known that he had Gary, because you never look back while you're passing a horse unless you're pretty sure you have him put away. But listen, it's a big effort by Point of Entry, fighting off Optimizer on the inside and still holding off number 4, Real Solution, through the stretch. Big effort.
And for John Velasquez, career win number 4,997, and as Randy said, his first in the Manhattan Handicap, and Donna is alongside.
Johnny Thomas just talking about you winning over 4,000 races. Your first win in the Manhattan Handicap, but what a nice horse this is.
He's beautiful, man. I think I'll tell you what. Even though we're on the wrong route for him, it's a little bit softer than I was expecting it, but he's still running a great race. When I asked him, I was taking me so wide on the turns, I had to kind of make a premature move to hold him in there. And then down the lane, he kind of waited a little bit. As soon as the other horse got to me on the outside, he left hand, he responded right away.
Johnny, you were a lot further back today than you normally are. What was the reason for that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I wanted it to be far back today just because the way the ground is. I didn't want to be hooked up and going to the first turn and he'd be pulling a lot of, going to the first turn and then I'd have no horse in the end. So I wanted him to get break slow, get him away from there and get him in the clear. Obviously, the ground is a little better in the outside, so that was my plan. It just happened to work out.
Another masterful ride from a Hall of Fame rider and good judgment too, right, Tom?
All right, Donna, and it's the second turf stakes today for Velasquez, who won the Just a Game on Stephanie's Kitten earlier, and for Shug McGahee, his third victory in the Manhattan Handicap, and fittingly on a horse owned by the Phipps Stables, his longtime client and a half owner of Orb, who will race in the Belmont Stakes later today. So point of entry, the heavy favorite wins the Manhattan and pays $310 with Optimizer a close second. Real Solution closed but could only get third. The 1-5 $2 exacta paying $11. The trifecta for $1.2850, and the Super, the first four finishers, pays $161 as point of entry. Heavily favored, lived up to that with a victory in the Manhattan.
This summer, as the Triple Crown winds down, horse racing heats up with a season of high-stakes races from where it all began. Summer at Saratoga, coming in July to the NBC Sports Network at NBC.
We aren't VIPs.
The now is here.
Monday, the live semifinals begin as the remaining artists take the stage for your votes. Don't miss The Voice, live Monday and Tuesday at 8, 7 Central, here on NBC. So back at Belmont Park, the fans, the big crowd here at Belmont has seen point of entry win the Manhattan Handicap, and now they'll turn their attention to the Belmont Stakes. So let's check the odds for the Belmont. With Orb still the 2-1 favorite. Revolutionary the second choice at 5-1. Freedom Child at 8-1 with Oxbow and Overanalyze 10-1. Overanalyze, Unlimited Budget, and Midnight Taboo, all owned by Mike Rapole and all trained by Todd Pletcher. And let's go back to Michelle Beadle.
Thanks, Tom. I'm here in the Silks Room. 5,000 silks in this small space. This one belongs to Mike Rapole. It's orange and blue, just like the Mets, and with good reason. Rapole's a Queens kid. He actually grew up watching the horses on this very track. Today, he's got 3 horses in the Belmont Stakes. Now, he made a little bit of money in the beverage business, just a little bit, and it's that success combined with maybe perhaps the spending habits of his wife that have led to the inspiration of a couple of the horses' names. Here is Unlimited Budget.
Can you see me? Okay. Am I sweating a little bit, guys? So pretend we like each other. I'm not sweating up here? You're nuts. 5 years ago, we bought a really nice house, and you're gonna make me look bald. Get out of here. Maria obviously, has put up with a lot over the last over 20 years now. I basically told her that Maria deserved everything. You have an unlimited budget with the house, do whatever you want, and she's the only person in history to have an unlimited budget and actually go over.
Guilty as charged?
Yes, I am guilty.
Yeah. She actually felt a little bad. That's how bad it was.
No, I really didn't feel that bad.
All right. So this is my favorite room in the house. It's the theater room. We named it the Arion. This is growing up in Middle Village, Queens. This is the theater that we went to as kids.
This is where Rapole spends time watching replays of a sport that has become an obsession. He owns 90 horses, and 3 of them will line up today. Overanalyze, Midnight Taboo, and Unlimited Budget.
Unlimited Budget has done it.
Yes. One again.
It's
like 1,400 times already.
No. She'll be one of the bigger horses in the race. When I saw her and Todd pulled her out before we bought her, I thought she was a colt for the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't until they told me that she was a filly.
I don't understand how you don't go like this first.
No, that wasn't what I do first.
Okay. I don't know how it works when you buy a horse.
A lot of people would do that.
Kick the tires, look under. I really love the idea that she's the filly. She's being ridden by Rosie. For the women out there, I don't know, I just feel like this is a cool chick moment.
You got the filly, Rosie, and the horse named after my wife. I don't even know if they'll let me in the winner's circle. You guys might say no men allowed in the winner's circle.
They're off, and the Belmont Belmont Stakes.
You get nervous more for this?
You know, it's a combination of anxiety and excitement. I've been waiting 30 years for a moment like this. I mean, you know, since I was 13, 14 years old, going to Belmont and Aqueduct as a kid, betting $2 on a race, to one day win, you know, most people want to win the Kentucky Derby. I'm a kid from New York. I went to Aqueduct, I went to Belmont. This is my dream.
If you could just script out how it's going to go, what's the perfect scenario?
If you have the most perfect scenario, I guess all three of them coming across the wire at the same time. Maybe a triple dead heat and winning 3 Belmonts in one day. Wow. That'd be pretty special.
As long as you're not greedy about what you want the results to be.
Nah. I'll take a dead heat. Just 2.
Take a dead heat.
2 Belmonts. I've waited 30 years for this.
Well, there he is, and is that 30-year wait destined to end today with a victory? And one thing we know, his trainer, Todd Pletcher, knows how to win the Belmont Stakes with a filly.
That was 6 years ago when Rags to Riches gave an uncommonly ecstatic trainer, Todd Pletcher, his very first ever Belmont Stakes win by defeating a very talented Colton Curlin, who wound up making $10 million. Rags to Riches' sire, AP Indy, grandsire Seattle Slew, and half-brother Jazzle all won the Belmont. So she had a beautiful 1.5 mile pedigree. By contrast, though, Unlimited's budget's dam or mother was a sprinter and bred to be a sprinter. So while she's big enough and fast enough to compete against the boys, even Pletcher believes 1.5 miles could be her Achilles heel.
That would be the only question mark, because talent certainly isn't a question for her, but it takes more than talent to win the Belmont Stakes, whether you're a filly or a colt. But to put it in perspective historically, 2 Kentucky Derby winning fillies, winning colors and genuine risk, certainly talented, weren't able to do it.
And she does get to carry 5 pounds less than the males in today's Belmont Stakes. Let's go back to Michelle.
Thanks, Tom. Here she is, Rosie Napravnik, I think a girl crush for a lot of us. They were talking about the size of your horse, the talent of your horse, not an issue. But what is it, if anything, that's concerning you about today's race?
Well, you know, it's always a big test having a filly go up against boys. We do have a little bit of break in weight, which, you know, should even it out. And but she's been training great. I talked to Todd this morning. He's, you know, really confident with her. And I mean, she gives me confidence the way she's been training, the way she looks. So.
You've already had one trip on the track today, a win in the Easy Goer earlier. Shorter race, but you've gotten a little feel. Does that help at all?
Yeah, you know, the track is actually great. They've done a great job with it. I mean, if you looked at yesterday, the way the conditions were yesterday, they've done a fabulous job with the track. So I think it's playing pretty fair, and it should be great for the Belmont.
Always good to see you. Good luck. Kick some booty out there. Tom, back to you.
All right, Unlimited budget, 13-1 with Rosie aboard right now. And when we return, the heroes of the Preakness, Gary Stevens, Wayne Lucas, and Oxbow.
Like the ceiling can't hold up, and we go back. This is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up. Like the ceiling can't hold us, like the ceiling can't hold us.
Test in 3, 2.
I don't like excitement. Take our corporate payment system from U.S. Bank. It's reliable, accurate, easy to manage.
Press off.
Who's your coach? Oh!
NBC's The Voice Live. Watch it Monday and Tuesday at 8, 7 Central.
As we take a look at the George Washington Bridge, we remind you that beginning Thursday from historic Marion Golf Club in Philadelphia, it's the U.S. Open Championship, part of NBC Sports Championship season. It begins Thursday at 3 Eastern on NBC. Now, 3 weeks ago in Baltimore, 50-year-old Gary Stevens certified his comeback with a Preakness win aboard Oxbow. It was his 3rd Preakness victory. He's also won 3 Derbies and 3 Belmonts. Oxbow's trainer, Wayne Lucas, has won the Belmont 4 times, and he's now won 14 Triple Crown races overall. That's more than any other trainer in racing history. I spoke with the veteran pair, Stevens and Lucas, earlier this week. Here it is.
You guys go back a long way. Now, here you sit, and your ages are no secret. 77 appearances to the contrary, 50 returning to the saddle, reunited, going after it again.
Well, I'll tell you, Bob, it's more incredible for him. He's in a physical activity. He's an athlete. He has to go out there and perform on a horse, do something physical. All I got to do is get up, make sure the alarm goes off on time, and make mental decisions. So it's a lot easier for me at 77, but it's remarkable, you know, the way that he's riding.
Wayne, Gary finishes 5th aboard Oxbow in the Arkansas Derby, 6th in the Kentucky Derby. What made you stay with him?
I've got a history of being able to, and maybe it comes from my coaching background, to change riders. I always say we're just dating. We're not going to get married here. And so I'm good at making changes, but it never crossed my mind in this case.
On the undercard at the Preakness, immediately before the big race, you win the Dixie Stakes. You'd been winless in 40 starts. Had you begun to doubt yourself?
It was a boost I needed an hour before the Preakness, and I was floating on air, and I think I said something to Wayne out in the paddock, and I says, I think we're going to win this one. And he said, you're starting to think like me.
And it's Gary Stevens and Oxbow in front. They're into the stretch, and it's Oxbow and Gary Stevens to win the Preakness.
You know, once they cross that line, you think, damn, we just beat them. I was thrilled for Gary. Turned to my girlfriend, Lori, and said, you know, I think you're lucky. Hang around a little bit. And I mean, you start thinking about, you know, how many hours you put in, where you came from. A lot of stuff goes through your head.
I think it's a blessing what's happened. It's come full circle. My timing's back. I've won a classic race.
Hell, let's win another one.
All right.
Why not?
In other sports, they talk about a coaching tree. Todd Pletcher, a guy like Dallas Stewart. These are pupils of yours, guys who worked for you.
Karen McLaughlin.
Yeah, so all these guys have horses running against you in the Belmont. Do you feel pride, or is it, hey, the hell with you guys. I don't want you guys to beat me.
I'm really proud of what they've gotten done. But when they go in the gate and any of the races we're in, we don't let the pupil beat the teacher.
What's the famous quote first attributed to the racing trainer Charlie Whittingham? Yeah, I taught him everything he knows, but I didn't tell him everything I know.
Well, I think I taught him very well, and I did tell him everything I knew at that time, but this is a game of experience. I think I moved forward, and they don't have the updated manual yet.
Okay, and one more note. Gary Stevens is an LA-based jockey, and just last weekend at Hollywood Park, he experienced a nasty spill, and the diagnosis was severely bruised ribs. It hurt like heck for several days, but he assured us earlier in the week, as Downer Brothers reported a while ago, he says he's okay, and he is set to go. So too is Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Bob. I'm with Todd Pletcher, who is about to set another record. 5 starters in the Belmont. Let's go back. Revolutionary, Palace, Malice, Overanalyze. They all ran the Derby. How have they been doing in this last few weeks?
All of them have trained exceptionally well. You know, they seem to be getting over this track in good order. I think the 5 weeks will suit them well between races.
Unlimited budget. You've done it before with rags to riches. How does the filly, why is the filly in this race?
Well, she's an exceptionally good filly. You know, she's been training very well here. 1.5 miles is the question mark, but that's probably the question mark for the colts as well.
He has one more. We're going to talk about that a little later on. He's a busy man getting ready to saddle him up. Let's go over to Donna.
But Dallas Stewart has Golden Soul 34-1 when he ran second in the Kentucky Derby. Dallas, he surprised a lot of people that day. Did he surprise you?
No, you know, I thought he was, if he got in the race, he'd have a shot.
Yeah.
And he ran a great race despite, you know, the mud, and very nice bunch of horses. But we're here to run today. I feel good about him.
How's he come into this race?
He's trained very well. He's fresh. He's fit. He had a good work at Churchill, and I feel real good about him.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Shug McGahee and Orb, was the Preakness a bit of a head scratcher for you, Shug?
I think so, Bob. You know, I didn't think he got to run his race that day and came out of it good. So, you know, hopefully we can redeem ourselves today.
Much has been made about the positioning in the Preakness. Will that be a conversation with Joel Rosario?
Very much so. You know, I think that he's going to need to read the race and see what's going on. I think there will be a pace. I thought the same thing in the Preakness too, and I was wrong. So we'll see what happens, and I'm going to leave it up to him.
Good luck. Here's Lafitte Pinkai.
All right, Bob, here with Tom Albatrani, who has Freedom Child going this afternoon. Tom, you're a Brooklyn native. What would it mean to win New York's signature event?
It'll be a great deal for me to win this race. You know, born in Brooklyn, raised around this Belmont Park my whole life, and it would mean so much for me and also my kids to enjoy.
Freedom Child, what gives you the confidence that he can compete at this level at the grueling distance, 1.5 miles of the Belmont Stakes?
We always liked this horse right from the beginning. He ran a good second to Orb back in November, and we always thought this horse had a lot of potential. So we're going by his maiden win. He came back with a huge win here in the Peter Pan. You know, throw out the wood, but this horse definitely belongs in here.
Good luck today, Tom.
Thank you, Lafitte.
Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
with Wayne Lucas, who of course trains Oxbow and will take charge. Oxbow, of course, wire to wire in the Preakness. All three of his wins in front. Does he need to be in front to win?
I don't think so, but if he inherits it, he's pretty good at it. And I think we're sending a little better mentally prepared horse in the Belmont than we did in the previous races. I think that Gary's going to find he's a little more manageable today. So we'll see how it breaks and how how it plays out.
And we'll take charge. He's going to come off the pace very quickly.
I think he'll be mid-pack. I think this race of the three, meaning the Preakness and the Derby, probably fits Will Take Charge the best. The big sweeping turns and his big stride, I think it'll help him.
All right, good luck, Wayne. Let's go to Bob Costas.
All right, Mike, Oxbow's win in the Preakness over Orb and others, and in this case it's Orb we're concerned with. Orb losing meant that for the 35th consecutive year, there would be no Triple Crown winner. That dates to affirmed in 1978. Add that to the fact that only 11 horses total have won the Triple Crown, and it remains one of the rarest feats in all of sports, and it seems to become more and more elusive with each passing year. Across the spectrum of tracks, fields, courts, and courses, there's a special list of achievements that stand apart. Among the most apt comparisons to horse racing's Triple Crown is its baseball counterpart, achieved when a player leads his league in home runs, RBIs, and batting average in the same season, and accomplished last year, for the first time since 1967, by Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers. The comparison holds when you note that the 14 times it's happened in baseball's modern era is numerically pretty close to the 11 horses who've won racing's Triple Crown, and that only the very best can possibly achieve it. Neither horse nor ball player can do it on luck or a fluke. The same goes for the Grand Slam in tennis and golf, victories in all 4 major tournaments in a single calendar year. In 2011, there was a near miss in tennis when Novak Djokovic came up 2 matches short at the French Open. And while Tiger Woods once won 4 straight majors over 2 seasons, the true Grand Slam has only been accomplished once in either sport over the last 35 years, that by Steffi Graf in 1988. The best tennis players, golfers, and ball players can chase those achievements for entire careers. A horse, meanwhile, has but one shot at the Triple Crown, on 3 different days, on 3 different tracks, in races of 3 different lengths. A 3-year-old thoroughbred has to not only run exceptionally well, but often must depend on an exceptional, if not perfect, set of circumstances. Circumstances that for 35 years now, the racing world has been waiting on, wondering when the next Triple Crown winner might finally come along.
The 145th running of the Belmont Stakes is brought to you by Ram. It's the truck you've always wanted your truck to be. By Prudential. Prudential, bring your challenges. And by Longines, the official timekeeper of the Belmont Stakes.
And the horses are in the paddock for the Belmont Stakes. And the jockeys begin to make their way out of the jockey's room and downstairs to the paddock, where they will get their final instructions from the trainers and get a leg up on their mount for the Belmont Stakes. And let's meet the jockeys of the 145th Belmont Stakes, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz.
Alan Garcia, Fragdari.
Luis Saez, Freedom Show.
John Velasquez, Other Analyze.
Edgar Prado, Jam Finish.
Joel Rosario, Orb.
Irat Ortiz, Incognito.
Gary Stevens, Oxbow.
Gary Gomez,
Javier Castellano, Revolutionary.
John Corp, Will Take Charge.
Julian Lepau, Bijak. Mike Smith, Palace Malice.
Rosina Pravnik, Unlimited Budget.
Robbie Alvarado,
Golden Soul.
So there you have the jockeys. That's the Mercedes-Benz jockey introductions for the 145th Belmont Stakes. And the crowded paddock scene, one of the best spots here at Belmont Park. And you know, Jerry, I think that in the Belmont Stakes, more than any other race, really, it's the jockey's sense of timing that really is so important.
It really is here because it's so big, and when almost every other racetrack in America is considerably smaller, timing and knowing where you are on the track is essential. Like at Churchill Downs, a mile track, when a jockey typically makes his move, it's at the 3/8 pole or 660 yards from the finish, and that starts on a mile track as you go into that far turn. Now, when you come to Belmont Park, you got to rethink it, because if you make that same move as the jockey going into that far turn, you're way too soon. That is a half a mile. That's 220 yards farther. So these jockeys have to wait until they get to where that green line starts, which is a 3/8 pole, or they are moving way too early.
Now, yesterday in the mile-and-a-half Brooklyn Handicap, jockey Aaron Grider moved earlier than that, but he gets a pass because Aaron was riding Kaleidoscopio. Look at him. He was 22 lengths behind on the backstretch in a different area code, but that's the way the 10-year-old Argentinian horse loves to run. This was only his third U.S. start. He won the Breeders' Cup Marathon last year, 10 years old, and look at him mowing down the field in a slop for a remarkable victory.
I like what Gary Stevens said about riding in the Belmont Stakes. He says you wait until you think you've waited too long and then wait some more. As Kaleidoscopio yesterday wins the Brooklyn with that run from the clouds, as they say. Well, let's go back to the paddock now and check in with our handicappers, Mike and Bob, plus Michelle, to see who they like in the Belmont Stakes.
I wonder who Michelle likes.
Oh, come on. You guys aren't betting any better than I am.
Rosie.
Oh, come on. We got a winner.
Okay.
Really? All right, well, okay, fine. So you're saying I'm predictable. I will own it. I am predictable. I'm going for the movie script here. Rapoli with his big win here in his home track. And I want Rosie to be to just be dominant. So yes,
I think she's
budget.
legit, Michelle. I mean, this isn't just a gender thing. She's fast, she's fit. The question is, again, the distance, but all of them, that's the question, Mike.
They do, but you know what? I think pace is what's going to make this race. And I think the pace is going to be very quick for a mile and a half. I think it's going to set it up for that late run from Orb. I don't know what happened to him last time. I'm throwing the race out. I've got an exacta box in my pocket, Orb and overanalyze. I'm hoping for a couple of late runners.
They're going to hit us with a boring stick right now.
Yeah, they are.
Orb. I'm looking at the magic number of 48 seconds to the half. Quicker than that, I think Orb has a good chance. Revolutionary Golden Soul will close if that pace is fast enough.
Yeah.
So I think Orb is working well. So 2 Orbs and 1 unlimited budget for this crew. Tom?
So Bob and Mike have picked Orb in each of the Triple Crown races. We'll see if they're correct today. And the fans betting say somebody other than Orb, Oxbow, or Revolutionary will win. As you voted on Facebook, you said someone else from the field. 39% say that one other than Orb, Oxbow, or Revolutionary will win the Carnations in the 145th Belmont Stakes.
If this much care goes into the chalice, imagine what goes into the beer.
The French Open Men's Final, presented by Longines, live tomorrow 9 Eastern on NBC.
Secretariat is blazing along. It looks like he's opening. The lead is increasing. But Secretariat is all alone. He is moving like a tremendous machine. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the wire. An unbelievable, an amazing performance by this miracle horse.
The late Chick Anderson with his timeless call, and there is the mighty Secretariat, immortalized as a centerpiece of the Belmont Park paddock 40 years after one of the most amazing sporting performances in history. And in honor of that 40th anniversary, the New York Racing Association has erected that pole in the blue and white colors of Secretariat, 31 lengths from the finish line, the margin of victory in the Belmont Stakes. Also interesting to note that of today's 14 runners, 9 have Secretariat in their pedigree. Well, there's the scene in the paddock, crowded, both onlookers and participants, as the Belmont Stakes approaches. And let's take a look now at our Ram Trucks race preview.
Well, Jerry and I got an A in the Derby, a D in the Preakness, but undaunted, we try again. They're up. Freedom Child goes to the lead from the number 2 post position. Frack Daddy doesn't like dirt in his face. Smart horse. They're going to put him up closer to the pace.
Yeah, Gary's not going to make the lead today, I don't believe, with Oxbow, but he's not going to be far off with Palace Malice to his outside. And Orb and Golden Soul and Revolutionary trailing those when they go into the first turn.
As we turn down to the backstretch, Freedom Child continues to lead. This time, no grand larceny for Gary Stevens and Oxbow. They're chasing in second, Palace Malice third.
And Oxbow's going to start to get some company up there. Orb and Joel Rosario starts to launch there a bit. Unlimited budget to Philly. Now I think she's going to be in contention as they round that turn into the middle of the stretch, and Golden Soul even starts to pick up the pieces.
Now notice Orb was on the outside this time. We think that by the head of the stretch, he's going to be breathing on Freedom Child for that long run down the lane and passing Gary Stevens and Oxbow.
Yeah, I think Gary Stevens and Oxbow are done at this point. Revolutionary makes a mild run, and a limited budget starts to feel the pain of the 1.5 miles. But it's Oxbow chasing Orb and Freedom Child. Orb gets redemption today in the Belmont Stakes.
Third straight time we picked Orb. Maybe the third time will be the charm again.
Still on the Orb bandwagon with our Ram Trucks race preview. The horses in the paddock now, and there is a look at Orb's jockey, Joel Rosario. As the tension begins to build, the horses can feel it too. The humans feeling the tension, and the horses usually sense that. And there's the big crowd in the paddock, and they call the Belmont and its challenging 1.5 mile distance the test of a champion. It's fitting that it's contested in New York, because no city appreciates a champion like the Big Apple.
Well, I think winning in New York is always special, just because the great fans, the great history, so many championships have been won.
The fans are fanatical, and that makes it that much more intense and tough to pull it off. But when you do, you're rewarded in a big way.
They hang on your every play, every game, every pitch, whatever sport it is.
The energy of New York is contagious. You can literally feel it in your bones.
It almost feels as though you're performing on Broadway. You know, lights seem to be a little bit brighter.
There's no other place like it. The city's blood runs in my veins, and there are times when I walk around the city where I feel like the Statue of Liberty.
New York racing fans, please welcome Super Bowl 21 champion and NFL Hall of Famer, the New York Giants, Harry Carson.
Ladies and gentlemen, racing fans of New York and around the country, it's time for the third leg of the Triple Crown, the 145th Belmont Stakes. Riders up!
So Harry Carson with a spirited challenge of riders up. So you look at the lineup of horses there. A look at Giant Finish, one of the long shots, ridden by Edgar Prado, who knows about taking long shots to victory in the Belmont Stakes. He's done it twice, including the biggest of all time. Wayne Lucas and Gary Stevens. Julien Leparoux. And you see that Orb, the favorite, now 2-1, as he has been all afternoon. And there's Rosie waiting for a leg up on unlimited budget. Let's go to Donna.
Tom, Incognito is the only horse racing in today's race that is not racing on the anti-bleeder medication Lasix. I talked with his trainer, Kieran McLaughlin, and he said it's because his owner, Sheikh Mohammed, signed a pact last year not to race any of their 2-year-olds on Lasix. And further, he didn't want any of the older horses to race on Lasix unless that actually bled, and Incognito has never bled. Kieran did concede, however, that in a race where all the other horses are racing on Lasix, as is the case in today's Belmont Stakes, he is at somewhat of a disadvantage, but believes that philosophically it's still the right thing to do. Let's go to Lafitte.
Donna, from a horse named Incognito to a horse owner who simply can't be found. Brad Kelly, the billionaire who bought the famed Calumet Farm, owns Oxbow. He wasn't at the Preakness Stakes, and he's not here today. I asked Wayne Lucas about his elusive owner, and he said He just doesn't want the limelight. He's not interested in hoisting trophies. Lucas added, though, he knows a ton about the sport. They spend all kinds of time discussing their horses on the phone. And just because he's not at the track, says, trust me, he's watching from somewhere. Let's go check in with Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Lafitte. As we talked earlier with Todd Pletcher, he's setting a record with 5 starters in today's Belmont. Now, sort of the 5th Beatle in this group is Midnight Taboo. He is the least experienced horse in the entire field. This will be only his 4th career start. If you added up his 3 other starts collectively, he has run less than 3 miles. That wouldn't be 2 trips around this big oval here at Belmont. But still, he is trained by Pletcher. He's going to be ridden by the outstanding Garrett Gomez, and Mike Rapoli, his owner, feels it's worth a shot, even though it is a long shot. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, jockey Robbie Alvarado is on Golden Soul today. It's been an eventful 2 years for Alvarado. 2 domestic violence charges. 2 years ago, those charges were dropped. Last year, he was found guilty of 4th-degree assault, fined $500. That's still under appeal. But to his end, Alvarado says he has completed court-ordered alcohol and anger management classes, and his trainer, Dallas Stewart, is behind him 100%. Dallas says that Robbie is pursuing the right path. He has full confidence in him. Very important, both on and off the track. Mike Battaglia.
All right, Newman, well, Revolutionary is the 2nd choice in here at 5-1 with good reason. He never runs a bad race. Coming off that 3rd place finish in the Kentucky Derby, reuniting with Javier Castellano, who rode him in 2 of his 3 career wins, and from the barn of Todd Pletcher. So a solid 2nd choice in here. And if you're making the exotic wagers, Exactus tries or Superfectus, Tom, you can't leave him out.
All right, consistency is the name for Revolutionary, as you see the horses making a turn of the walking ring, and then they'll come out of the paddock and head toward the racetrack through the tunnel that will take them to the track itself. And so far, all seem to be handling the big crowd in the paddock well, including Orb, who is still the 2-1 favorite, as we have the call to the post for the 145th Belmont Stakes.
Now let's welcome the horses for the 145th running of the Belmont Stakes onto the track with Frank Sinatra's timeless rendition of New York, New York.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. It's up to you, New York, New York, New York.
And here are the horses for the Belmont Stakes. Number 1, Frack Daddy, a long shot trained by Kenny McPeak, who pulled the biggest upset in Belmont Stakes history, Sarava, at 70-1 in 2002. Number 2, Freedom Child. West Point Thoroughbreds paid $350,000 for him as a yearling. His 13th length win in the Peter Pan Stakes at Belmont tabbed him as a dangerous Triple Crown newcomer. Number 3 is Overanalyzed, one of 3 owned by Mike Rapoli, one of 5 trained by Todd Pletcher. John Velasquez looks for his 3rd Belmont victory on a horse that was 11th in the Kentucky Derby. Number 4, Giant Finish, a New York bred, whose 2 wins have come in races restricted to New York breds. He was 10th in the Derby, beaten 13 lengths. Number 5 is Orb, beaten 9 lengths in the Preakness, snapping a 5-race winning streak. In 1989, Shug McGahee lost to Preakness with a favorite, Easy Goer, but came back to win the Belmont. Orb would be the first Derby winner to take the Belmont since Thunder Gulch in 1995. Number 6, Incognito, a son of Belmont Stakes winner AP Indy, who's trained by Kieran McLaughlin, who won his Belmont debut with Jazzle in 2006. This horse was 5th in the Peter Pan. Number 7, Oxbow, 77-year-old Wayne Lucas, 50-year-old Gary Stevens team up again with a Preakness winner for the revitalized Calumet Farm. Lucas, the winningest Triple Crown trainer with 14 victories. Number 8, Midnight Taboo, Rapoli and Pletcher. This colt has raced only 3 times with a single win at Aqueduct. Number 9, Revolutionary, has had 5 weeks rest after running 3rd in the Derby, where he was beaten 3.5 lengths as the second betting choice. Javier Castellano rode the 2011 Belmont runner-up, Stay Thirsty. Number 10, Will Take Charge, a huge horse that Wayne Lucas says should be able to use his long strides to good advantage on Belmont's sweeping turns. 8th in the Derby, 7th in the Preakness. Number 11, Vijak, won his first 4 races before a 3rd in the Wood Memorial, then beat only 1 horse in the Derby. He's named for the parents of owner David Wilkenfeld, Vivian and Jack. Number 12, Palace Malice, owned by Dogwood Stable, a pioneering partnership founded by Cott Campbell, now 85 years old and definitely not retiring. The colt takes off the blinkers, which might help harness the speed he showed in the Derby, where he faded to 12th. Number 13, Unlimited Budget, attempting to become the 4th filly to win the Belmont with a filly aboard, Rosie, who would match Julie Crone's win in this race. Todd Pletcher won with the filly Rags to Riches, remember, and Unlimited Budget has lost only once in 5 starts. This is her first time against the boys. And number 14 is Golden Soul. Golden Soul spoiled a lot of exactas when running 2nd in the Derby at 34-1, coming from 18 lengths back, owned by Canadian geologist and diamond miner Charles Fipke. And that is the field for the $1 million Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles. Joel Rosario has had the run of a lifetime this spring. He looks for 2/3 of the Triple Crown with Orb. Gary Stevens seeks his 4th Belmont Stakes win on Oxbow. Will Palace Malice go to the front like the Derby? Mike Smith knows. Or will this be Ladies' Day for Rosie and Unlimited Budget?
Somewhere nearby, something amazing is happening. A history lesson is being retold with greater clarity. A vision is being reshaped with dirt and determination. And reliability is up early, plowing ahead. A persistent sun punches through a cloudy sky. A pair of hands is finding renewed purpose. Show.
The Belmont Stakes is known as the test of the champion, and today it pits a pair of champions against one another. In a strong field contending for the final jewel of the Triple Crown. Orb had the look of a Triple Crown contender after an impressive Derby victory.
Orb has won the Kentucky Derby!
Only to turn in a forgettable performance in the Preakness. Now the Belmont offers a chance for trainer Shug McGahee and jockey Joel Rosario to return the colt to the winner's circle. Gary Stevens rode Oxbow to a wire-to-wire win at Pimlico.
And it's Oxbow and Gary Stevens to win the Preakness!
It was his 9th Triple Crown victory. His comeback now an ongoing success. He aims for a follow-up aboard D. Wayne Lucas's horse. After improved showings in both the Derby and the Preakness, Rosie Napravnik is ever more eager for her first ever Triple Crown victory. Here she rides the filly Unlimited Budget, one of Todd Pletcher's multiple contenders. A 1.5 mile test awaits all of them in New York. at the 145th Belmont Stakes. Now, just moments away. Yesterday, amid a day-long downpour, they ran the Brooklyn Handicap through the slop. The stands were virtually empty. Today, a packed house, a beautiful day. The track has been upgraded to fast. Tom, everything has come together, and in a few minutes, we'll know which horses' connections can say the same.
All right, Bob, including the sky clearing, blue sky above now and the sun out. Almost $10 million, over $10 million now has been bet to win in the Belmont. Orb is still the 2-to-1 favorite. In fact, the only horse that's shown any change at all is Oxbow, who went from 10-to-1 to 9-to-1 and now is the co-third choice with Freedom Child. And there is a look at the favorite Orb. He's been pretty well behaved, hasn't he?
Yeah, he looks relaxed, which is what you want as a jockey. I mean, typically it's nice to see a little bounce in their step, but not in the Belmont Stakes. It's all about getting them to relax.
And it all comes down to why he ran so poorly in the Preakness. The deepest racing surface he'd ever encountered before, or did his strong effort in the Kentucky Derby mean that he just didn't have his fastball in Baltimore? That's if he's Orb that we saw in the Derby, he wins.
And what about Oxbow? How has he been behaving in the warm-up?
Oh, he looks great. He's going to pop out of there unless something weird happens at the start. And the question is how fast he is forced to go early on, because Gary Stevens has already said he likes to be up in the mix. Freedom Child will probably dictate that, but it's going to be interesting to see what influence Palace Malice has on Oxbow going into the first turn.
And there is Freedom Child. We know that he'll be in front. At least that's where he wants to be.
And it's all about how fast they force him to go. He could have Frack Daddy on his inside breathing on him. Oxbow and Palace Malice to his outside breathing on him. If it's a moderate pace, 12 and change or so, he's got a chance to go all the way. I mean, 112 and so for the first 6 furlongs.
Revolutionary seems to never throw in a bad race.
Yeah, and look at he comes from out of it, and his jockey Javier Castellano is going to have to adjust as this unfolds. It's all about adjustments, Tom, as this race unfolds. They don't have a halftime to go in and regroup. These jocks have to decide within fifths of seconds whether to let him loose a little bit or restrain him.
Talent-wise, I think Revolutionary, my opinion, is a slight cut below the best in here. He's going to need a really good trip, like he got in the Derby.
He's going to the gate. Here's Unlimited Budget to Philly.
And it's about relaxation for her, too. The talent's there. But to get a mile and a half, she's certainly got to turn off, relax for Rosie, and she certainly, I don't think, can take a lot of bumping around. Clean trip is important for her.
And Palace Malice set the pace in the Kentucky Derby, but then faded to 12th.
Yeah. What is the removal of blinkers from Palace Malice going to do to his running style? Is he going to be hyper-aggressive again as he was in the Derby? Or is, as Mike Smith believes, Palace Malice going to be much more relaxed and tractable this time when they leave the starting gate?
Let's get a quick comment from Donna.
Well, Golden Soul's right here in front of me, and he looks a little hot, but it's warm out here, Tom. A lot of the horses have gotten hot. I can't say any of them look like they've used the race up in the post parade. They all look great.
All right, just one to load. So for the call of the Belmont Stakes, let's go to Larry Colmus.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. We're almost ready here as Golden Soul and Robbie Alvarado take up position in that outside stall. They're all in line, and we are ready for the start. They're off in the Belmont Stakes. Good starts for both Oxbow and Orb, and it's Frack Daddy and Freedom Child going out to the front, and Oxbow is away running in third to the outside of them. Giant Finish came out running in fourth. Palace Malice is fifth, just off the pace today, and caught 4 wide as they make their charge into that first turn. Then Incognito, a wide run for the filly Unlimited Budget. She's caught well out there. So it's going to be Frack Daddy to make the pace with Freedom Child running in second, and check out that quarter. 23 seconds flat. Extremely fast for this mile-and-a-half distance, and Oxbow is right on the pace, 3 wide. Palace Malice follows in fourth by another 2 lengths. Then Incognito moving up on the far outside. Unlimited Budget. Giant Finish has the rail. It's another 2 lengths back to Vijack, who races on the outside. Will take charges right in that pack as well, and down toward the inside, Revolutionary, and Overanalyze is there too. Now Orb is second last on the backstretch, just ahead of Golden Soul as they continue through a half mile in 46 3/5 seconds. Up the backstretch they go here in the Belmont, and Oxbow and Gary Stevens have a narrow lead. On the inside is Freedom Child, and their noses apart up front. And Palace Malice is 2 lengths off of them. Frack Daddy has retreated a bit, fourth on the inside. Revolutionary comes on in fifth. We look back for Orb. He is still near the back of the pack, but he's picking up his stride now as they move for the far turn. He's still 10 lengths off the lead, and as they round the far turn, it is Oxbow on the outside, and Freedom Child along the rail, and Palace Malice and Mike Smith join them, and now Orb is rolling on the far outside. He's 8th. He has moved into 7th, and he continues to gain ground outside of horses. It is Oxbow and Palace Malice, and these two have taken over the lead. Revolutionary is 4 lengths behind. Orb is up running at 4th now. He's outside of Revolutionary as they make their way to the top of the stretch. Oxbow and Palace Malice, and they're into the stretch, and it's Palace Malice who has taken the lead as they come inside the final furlong. Palace Malice, a furlong to run. Oxbow is 2nd. Orb is 3rd to the outside. But Palace Malice comes inside the final 16th of a mile in the clear from Oxbow and Orb. It is going to be Palace Malice and Mike Smith in the Belmont Stakes. Oxbow was 2nd, Orb was 3rd, Incognito was 4th, and Revolutionary was 5th. So it's a different winner for each Triple Crown race this year. This one goes to Palace Malice.
And Todd Pletcher with the celebration as Palace Malice. They took the blinkers off, and typically that dulls some of their speed. Remember, he had shown speed in the Derby, very much speed, and then faded in the latter stages. Today he did not fade. Mike Smith, another veteran jockey, was just timing it perfectly, made his move to get past Oxbow to win the Belmont Stakes.
Palace Malice finally living up to the belief that Todd Pletcher had in him last summer, thought he was his best 2-year-old in the barn. Every time I talked to him this spring, he said, probably the best horse working for me at this moment is Palace Malice. Yet he disappointed time after time after time. Mike Smith riding the fine line of using enough of his speed not to fight it, yet rationing it out. And boy, did the horse show a lot of heart hanging in there the last quarter of a mile.
I think the Kentucky Derby was a wake-up call for him. With those blinkers and all that speed that he showed, I think it sharpened him up for this race. And how about Mike Smith? After such Triple Crown frustration a year ago, second. Here Mike Smith gets the money. And I tell you what, no excuses at all for the favorite Orb. They went the last quarter mile in this race in almost 27 3/5 seconds. They were crawling the last quarter of a mile, yet Orb still could not pick up the early leaders.
Can you loosen the nose?
Mike Smith saying good boy to Palace Malice.
16 of the last 20 Derby Belmont winners have come within 3 lengths of the lead turning it home. 11 of them within a length. Now, Palace Malice fit that bill perfectly. Mike Smith really did a good job sitting off Gary Stevens for as long as he could. I really had my doubts whether Palace Malice could kick on enough to clear the field, but this is all about the determination and courage of Palace Malice and a really well-judged ride by Mike.
And Palace Malice is tired right here. Oxbow's even more tired, but there was no one in the field, including Orb, who could finish strongly enough to come and get him at 1.5 miles.
So Palace Malice, the 7th Belmont winner since 2000 to win after running in the Derby and then skipping the Preakness. Let's go to Donna.
Well, Tom, Mike just told me a little secret. He was happy to find out that Oxbow and Gary Stevens held on for 2nd. What did Gary say to you whenever it looked like you had more horse than him?
I was moving better than him at the 3/8 pole, and man, he looked over and just like a big brother telling a little brother, he said, you go on with it, big boy. You're moving better than me.
How nice. Hey, what a difference a race makes. 12th in the Kentucky Derby, comes away with the win today in the Belmont Stakes. What made the difference with him today, Mike?
Blinkers off, Donna. Honestly, ran through the bridle. It was really a sneaky good race if you go back and look at it. Never took a breather one time. Today, the whole time, he's just enjoying the trip and sucking all the air in, and I was full of run heading for home.
Speaking of enjoying the trip, you rode in your first Belmont Stakes 23 years ago. I hate to tell on you, but your 2nd Belmont Stakes win today, what's it mean to you?
It's incredible, you know, and I really want to thank Cock Campbell and all of Dogwood for sticking with me. They could have very easily took me off, Don, and they stuck with the old guy, and it paid off, man. Thank you, Todd, and everyone. Thank you.
Talk to me about Orb and Oxbow. They were 2nd and 3rd. Did you have them sort of in your sights? I realize you were in front, but were you looking over your shoulder the whole time?
You know, I was to my outside because there's 5 of us in there for Todd. You know, we all want to kind of help each other out, but yet give ourselves a chance as well. Didn't want to hang Rosie out too far, you know, so I'm trying to do just a little both. But the whole key was getting him into that rhythm that he was in. He's bred to run all day.
Worrying about your own horse. Well done.
Thank you.
Tom, Hall of Fame ride from a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and the second Belmont win, Donna, for Mike Smith. He won aboard Drosselmeyer in 2010. Here in the Dogwood Stable colors, it's Palace Malice and Mike Smith to win the Belmont Stakes and win it decisively. Mike Smith with another celebration, and Todd Smith celebrates his second Belmont win as well.
The Mercedes-Benz summer event is here. Now get the unmistakable thrill and the incredible rush of the Mercedes-Benz you've always wanted. But you...
That's a good point! Disney Pixar's Monsters University, rated G.
The 145th running of the Belmont Stakes is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. By U.S. Bank, all of us serving you. Member FDIC. By Stella Artois, she is a thing of beauty. And by Longines, the official timekeeper of the Belmont Stakes.
There's the hero of the hour, Cot Campbell, the 85-year-old man who pioneered the partnership concept with Dogwood Stable, leading Palace Malice into the winner's circle after paying $29.60. Oxbow in second, Orb was third. The exacta $323 for a $2 wager. You see the trifecta and the superfecta, a $1 bet, got you $10,301. And here is the complete order of finish with Palace Malice, the winner. Palace Malice winning clear of Oxbow and Orb. The margin 3 1/4 lengths. Incognito, a long shot, finishing in fourth. Then Revolutionary, Unlimited Budget, the filly. Overanalyze, Vijack, Golden Soul, Will Take Charge, Giant Finish, Midnight Taboo, Freedom Child, really faded badly, and Frack Daddy finishing last. And Orb, as Cot Campbell has a winning smile. Todd Pletcher with his second Belmont victory. And what happened to Orb?
Well, he was far back early, which is exactly where he needed to be given the pace. The first half mile run only 2/5 slower than Secretariat's record split back in '73. Made a big move, looked like a winner at the top of the stretch. Here's the deal. We overrated the top 3 finishers in the Kentucky Derby. The pace of that race was so fast that the horses in the back of the pack had a huge advantage. Where was Revolutionary today? 5th. Where was Golden Soul? 9th. All 3 of those horses are good, but not as good as we thought they were coming out of Louisville.
He even looked like a winner here, did Orb, as he picks off horses one by one, turning for home. But in the end, he was just too flat and too hard to catch the front running, at least at the quarter pole, the front running Palace Malice. Oxbow, he's holding his own in there. Listen. Success has a price to pay, and the price to pay for Oxbow today was nobody was going to leave him alone. Right. And on a horse that needs to be up in the mix, you're at the mercy of the speed around you, and Freedom Child hooked him up early, then Gary took the lead, but Palace Malice under Mike Smith, completely legitimate, but never let Gary get a breather because he knew how dangerous he would be if he did.
Oxbow was hurt by the fast pace in the Kentucky Derby, finished 6th. He was helped by the incredibly slow pace he was allowed to set in the Preakness, which he won. This race, the pace did him no favors either, but yet he's a tough horse. He held in there courageously to finish second, even though he was exhausted the last 8th of the mile.
And the 2 fast friends, Palace Malice ridden by Mike Smith and Oxbow by Gary Stevens. And Mike Smith gets the best of it today.
The 2 old guys, Tom. 1-2. I love it.
Maybe you'll come back out of retirement after all, Jerry. And talking about the Lucas coaching tree, Pletcher, one of his proteges, wins it. Lucas himself runs 2nd, and another protege, Kieran McLaughlin, runs 4th. And Mike Smith with another sterling performance in a big race. We've come to expect it from Mike. He has this amazing workout routine. He may have a little age, but he's really fit, and he's got good judgment as well. Celebrate, Mike.
Test in 3, 2.
I don't like excitement. Take our corporate payment system from U.S. Bank. It's reliable, accurate.
The U.S. Open begins Thursday at 3 Eastern on NBC.
Next Next, turn to the NBC Sports Network for your post-race wrap-up. Get all the highlights and insights on today's big race on the Belmont Stakes post-race show only on the NBC Sports Network. Palace Malice, the winner of the Belmont Stakes. Let's go down to the winner's circle now and join Bob Costas.
All right, Tom, David O'Rourke of the New York Racing Association is here to make the presentation to Cott Campbell, the founder of Dogwood Stable.
Thank you, Bob. On behalf of the New York Racing Association, I'm delighted to present the Belmont Stakes trophy to Cott Campbell, president of Dogwood Stables. Cott has done so much for our sport. Congratulations on a wonderful performance by Palace Malice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the mother of all great moments, I'll tell you that. I'm proud for Dogwood and for my great partners, Snyder and Orphis and Smith and Pig and Myers. I'm proud for Aiken, South Carolina. They'll be dancing in the streets right now. And I'm proud of Todd, one of the great trainers of all times, and Mike Smith, one of the great riders. And for the horse, the horse, the horse. I'm so proud of him.
I believe that sums the whole thing up, plus acts as a perfect segue to Lafitte Pinkai, who is with both trainer and jockey. Lafitte?
All right, Bob, here with Todd Pletcher. Todd, this was supposed to be your Derby horse, your most hyped 2-year-old in your stable last summer. He loses 6 of his first 7. How gratifying is this Belmont win with Palace Malice?
It's huge. It's huge. You know, we always felt like he had a big one in him. We were just waiting for it to finally develop. I kept telling Mr. Campbell, this horse is training unbelievable. I know he's got a big one. We're just needing to put it all together.
After running 12th in the Derby, had you lost any confidence in him going in?
I didn't. You know, he just got a little rank with the blinkers and the sloppy track that day. But when he came back here, he trained so well. And his work 2 works ago, like I said, was as good as I've ever seen a horse work. So we were quietly confident coming in.
Congratulations, Todd. Mike Smith, your second Belmont Stakes victory. You finished second in each Triple Crown race last year, twice with Bodemeister, Painter here in the Belmont Stakes. How much sweeter is this one now?
It's incredible. You know, God's got a way of making you be patient. Today was our day, and really, Todd, he wrote the perfect play. I mean, he wrote it. It ran exactly like he wrote it, and I wrote it that way myself, and it just worked out.
Great ride, Mike. Congratulations to both of you. Let's go back to Tom.
All right, Lafitte, and so a different winner in each of the 3 Triple Crown races in 2013. It means the best 3-year-olds still to be decided on races later on, including the Travers Stakes and, of course, the Breeders' Cup, both of which you'll see on NBC. Tonight at 8 Eastern, the NHL Western Conference Final continues on NBC as the Kings battle the Blackhawks in Game 5. Tomorrow, Rafael Nadal seeks an unprecedented 8th title at the French Open at 9 a.m. So another year without a Triple Crown winner, but not without plenty of excitement.
Orb has won the Kentucky Derby for Chattanooga. And it's Oxbow and Gary Stevens to win the Preakness. Gary Stevens did it. It is going to be Palace Malice and Mike Smith in the Belmont Stakes.
Another memorable year in the books for the Triple Crown. This is Tom Hammond saying so long from the final leg of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes.
To be the champs, you gotta beat the champs. Tonight, after finally losing at home,